Bedtime Stories, a totally new, outrageous, and intimate game show. Weeknights at 11 here on Channel 5. Parental guidance suggested. Good morning. This is Chuck Caron with the news headlines, sports, and weather from the Channel 5 newsroom. First, we'll start it all off with the international news. The Seven-Nation Economic Summit in Tokyo gets underway in less than 48 hours. And according to reports, President Carter will put forward a plan to limit oil imports through 1980 by about 2 million barrels a day. Underwater cameras should be in place this morning to study a new crack in a runaway oil well off the southeastern coast of Mexico. The well has been spraying 30,000 barrels of oil daily since it caught fire earlier this month. OPEC sources say the cartel will move to raise its price of crude oil to $20 a barrel today. The sources also report the oil ministers will meet again in September, 3 months ahead of schedule. In the national news, Senate Minority Leader Howard Baker is to announce his position on the SALT II treaty today. Baker has said he has strong reservations about the treaty and is likely to be a key figure in debate on it. Committee hearings continue today in the Senate on legislation to carry out the Panama Canal treaties. Some members are predicting the Carter administration bill will die in committee. A House subcommittee will receive testimony today from residents of Scottsdale, Arizona, who say their health has been damaged by the use of a pesticide on nearby crops. Yesterday, 2 Vietnam veterans told the committee the government's use of the defoliant Agent Orange caused illness to them and birth defects in the children born to them. The Food and Drug Administration has formed a task force to find out why people tasting bacon cured with sorbates developed rashes and sore throats. The chemicals are viewed as a substitute for sodium nitrite, which is said to cause cancer when used to cure meat. President Carter is being urged to convene an energy summit of industry and political leaders. A non-binding resolution overwhelmingly approved by the Senate Tuesday calls for that meeting to plot the nation's energy future. In local news, there's been no let-up in metropolitan New York's gasoline drought, and the signs point to worse to come. Nearly 6 out of 10 service stations in the city were closed yesterday. Gasoline lines were the longest yet seen, and Governor Hugh Carey prepared to put the state into a deep hole next month by borrowing against July emergency reserves for the remaining days of this month. Governor Carey has asked the federal government for an extra allocation of 45 million gallons of gasoline for New York, and he has said that if he doesn't get it, he will dip into next month's set-aside supply, a reserve that the state maintains under federal regulations. In New Jersey, Governor Brendan Byrne has ordered oil companies to begin allocating July gasoline to service stations this week. Aides to the governor say the amount of gasoline to be released has not yet been determined, but that it should begin reaching filling stations by the end of the week. The Auto Club's daily survey of 75 stations in Manhattan, the Bronx, the Brooklyn, and Queens and Nassau County showed that 57% were closed yesterday. Lines at open stations averaged 7 blocks in length. Business is off at Long Island restaurants these days. The head of the Long Island Restaurant and Caterers Association says many of them are hanging on their fingernails. Warren Spellman, president of the 3,000-member association, says 300 Long Island restaurants may have to close down if the gasoline shortage lasts another month. He says business was off by 25% in many restaurants last weekend as the shortage forced many motorists to stay put. The leader of the Long Island Independent Truckers Association says the truckers and their rigs will be back on the island's highways today, continuing their protest of high fuel prices and what they consider unfair government regulations. In a moment, we'll check on sports and the weather, but first we have this story on illiteracy with Neela Smith.
Will Lou Gray has been waging a battle against illiteracy since she began teaching in 1903. She's the founder of South Carolina's Opportunity School, a second chance for adults who never finished high school or learned to read and write.
Everybody must read in order to read the Bible. I think that's a basic of good Christian citizenship.
That conviction paved the way for her school's first graduating class in 1921. Class trips stressed citizenship, but state legislators weren't always glad to see her when she went lobbying for funds.
Well, one man said, what did he say to me? He said, I was worse than chewing gum in the hair. They didn't want to give the money. As here's one more, somebody's come up here begging. And if you get $1, you want another one, that's all.
Today's sprawling campus belies its modest beginnings when financial assets totaled 1 bale of flour, $140, and a case of salmon. But today's students still come for many of the same reasons.
Why did you not like to go to public school?
Well, it wasn't really that I liked it, but when I was in the 7th grade, I became pregnant. And I was 16 at the time, and I quit. And I never went back, and I'm 24 now, and I've decided that I need to go back to school.
Miss Will Liu is retired now, but maintains her title of Director Emeritus. Many grateful students have kept up years of correspondence with her. Here's her favorite success story.
He went to the night school and learned to read and write way back yonder. He was when he was a young boy, and he is now a PhD, and not an honorary one. He did it himself.
Lillian Mackey was a 46-year-old widow when she enrolled. Now she works as the school's dietitian, responsible for 500 people. Her education meant a newfound self-confidence, but she was frightened at first.
There was a few people near my age, but most of them were real young. And I just broke out in a cold sweat. I said, I cannot learn like these young people. But I soon found out that it was just wonderful. And I wanted not only to learn, but I wanted to enter all the extracurricular activities they offered here.
Young or old, it's students like Lillian who brought Will Liu Gray's life work to fruition. Reading and writing skills mean a sense of self-worth and the beginning of opportunity, something Miss Gray has fought for over 75 years. I'm Neela Smith for Today's Woman.
The New York Yankees exploded for 5 runs in the first inning and went on to rip the Toronto Blue Jays 11-2. Jim Spencer's 2-run homer capped the opening outburst. The Yankees' 16-hit attack enabled Louis Tiant to earn the win, his 4th in 6 decisions. Bill Robinson's tie-breaking home run in the 7th inning propelled the Pittsburgh Pirates over the New York Mets 2-1. Bert Blyleven and Grant Jackson combined to check the Mets to 4 hits. Blyleven, 5-2, earned the victory. Winless Tom Houseman was tagged for the loss, his 3rd. As for the weather forecast, it's going to be mostly sunny and high today, with a high near 80, but cooler near the ocean. Fair Wednesday night with a low in the mid-60s. Thursday, variable cloudiness and seasonably warm. That's the latest news, sports, and weather. From the Channel 5 newsroom, this is Chuck Caron reporting. Now tune in to the Milkman's Matinee on WNEW Radio, 1130 on your radio dial, followed by The Ted Brown Show at 6. Bedtime Stories, a totally new, outrageous, and intimate game show, weeknights at 11, here on Channel 5. Parental guidance suggested.
The best known, most beloved, and most widely quoted prayer in the world is the Lord's Prayer. The disciples of Jesus came to him one day and asked, Lord, teach us to pray. The result was the Our Father, which is said often by the faithful Christian at home and in church. It is the most beloved of prayers because Christ was its author. It is the most perfect of prayers, yet Jesus gave it to us not only that we might often repeat its petitions word for word, but that it be also a pattern prayer or a guide in fashioning our own prayers. We are to pray in our own words too. We are to speak to God as a child speaks to a loving father. There is no magic in the Lord's Prayer. The man who complained that there was no use praying because he had prayed the Lord's Prayer 20 times and nothing happened simply missed the whole point of prayer. He was of the very sort of whom Christ warned, those who repeat pious phrases endlessly in the hope that repetition will work a miracle. The Our Father is full of meaning. We should pray it carefully and slowly. One saint of the church is said to have taken an hour in praying the whole prayer once. After beginning Our Father, he would stop and meditate for minutes on the meaning of that phrase. God is Father. Just as a true and good father loves his child and protects him and would do anything in the world for him, sacrifice for him, yea, even give his life for him if need be, in such fashion God is Father to us. That saint would continue in this way with all the parts of the prayer. Notice the dangers that lie within that prayer for the person who prays it carelessly and thoughtlessly. Suppose for an instant that God would suddenly respond to our appeal, "Thy kingdom come and thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." What would happen to our present state of affairs? Would we keep the same plans we have made, associate with the same people, and spend our money for the same purposes we had planned? To pray, "Thy will be done," means to stand ready to do the will of God as soon as we know what His will for us is. Do we seek His will in all things? Are we ready to put those words into practical, everyday use? There's another dangerous plea. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Here we ask God to forgive as we forgive. How many of us would really dare to ask for forgiveness on such conditions? We say of someone who has harmed us, "I can never forgive him for that," or "I will forgive him but will never forget the way he treated me." How many of us want God to treat us according to that pattern? But that is exactly what we pray in this prayer. And lead us not into temptation. There is hypocrisy in asking God to deliver us from temptation when we continue to run into it deliberately and of our own free will. We go to entertainment we know will suggest evil to our minds. We go to a place we know will result in drunkenness. We read books we know will do us no good. How can we ask the Lord not to lead us into temptation when we do so ourselves? Is this not a plea to help us weigh our acts and decisions in the light of our faith? As we say this beautiful prayer, my friends, whether it is in the privacy of our homes, at bedside, table, or in church, may we pray it as Jesus did, and in the sense that He gave it to us to be prayed. May God bless you.
This is television station WNEW TV, owned and operated by Metro Media Television, division of Metro Media. Transmitting from the Empire State Building. Executive offices and studios located at 205 East 67th Street, New York City. WNEW TV operates on an assigned frequency of 76 to 82 megahertz, as authorized by the Federal Communications Commission. Programs and portions of programs presented by this station have been pre-recorded. Programs cannot be rebroadcast or copied without written permission. This is Chuck Caron speaking on behalf of the staff of Metro Media Television, division of Metro Media Incorporated, wishing you a very pleasant good night or good morning.